What is good, guys? It is your host, Mr. Ghost, with the Real Talk Podcast. In today's episode, we're going to be discussing the government shutdown and who is it truly affecting. We know it affects the American people the most. But within the poll numbers, is it really affecting the support for the Republican Party, or is it affecting the support for the Democratic Party? We've heard from recent polls that we have to take with a grain of salt because they are left-leaning, but still, our 45% that were polled are blaming Republicans. We already know that the true facts are that the Democrats are to blame. They voted 13 times and no clean CR. They want their money for illegals. In today's episode, we're going to dive into all of this. But before we do so, please subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit that like button, guys, because that helps pushes out to more people. Let's roll. This government shutdown has to end. Because at the end of the day, it only hurts the American people. It doesn't hurt the lawmakers because they get paid regardless. But the American people are going to suffer at this. Because our most vulnerable, our military, are going to suffer. Even our credibility on the world stage is going to suffer. Because people are going to look at the United States and be like, they're nothing but a joke. They don't even have a functioning government. They can't agree on a simple, clean bill. And we have to start questioning, why is the Democrats so hard to fund illegals? You, the American people, have to take a good look. I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on. You have to take a look at that and start questioning it yourself. What is the purpose to feed illegals? What is the purpose to provide medical coverage for illegals, non-U.S. citizens, from taxpayer-funded money? Now, if you're a very wise person, you could put two and two together. They want more codependency on the government. They don't want the people to be independent. They don't want the people to be free. They do not want the people to exist without dependency. Because when you put more illegals on, programs such as SNAP, Medicaid, Medicare, they're going to vote for you because you're going to keep them funded. You're going to keep them fed. It is Socialist 101. A government that can feed you can starve you. We have watched for far too long the Democratic Party is slowly switching into a socialist party to overthrow the United States of America. This is not hyperbolic. This is straight out facts. When enough will be enough? When will the American people, the common sense, come to reality and say, you know what? We're not voting these people in no more. A lot of the moderates and a lot of the centrists in the party are buckling to the far left. Chuck Schumer, Jeffries, and numerous others, including Nancy Pelosi, Susan Warren. They are bending to the socialist ideologies that would fundamentally undermine our Constitution. We have watched time and time again of them voting no to fund essential workers and essential programs such as SNAP. But we'll hear from far left media outlets blaming the Republicans. But is it truly hurting the Republicans? We're going to look at one particular video from CNN, of all places. This came from CNN. And it's going to show you the truth.
Seem to have affected their political standing.
Yeah, you might think, given that the Republicans are in charge of both the House and the Senate, that a government shutdown might actually hurt the Republican brand. But in fact, it hasn't. If anything, it's been helped a little bit. Take a look here, the shift in net popularity versus pre-shutdown. When we're looking at the Republican Party overall, That brand actually up 2 points. That's within the margin of error, but clearly it hasn't dropped. Come over to this side of the screen. Look at the net approval ratings for Republicans in Congress. It's actually up 5 points since pre-shutdown. So what we're seeing here is the Republican brand in Congress has actually improved somewhat compared to where we were pre-shutdown, despite the fact that Republicans control. And that's the math that John Thune and Mike Johnson are looking at is, well, hey, why should we give, and electorally speaking, when our brand has actually improved a little bit?
Now, we say their position is getting better. With whom?
Yeah, okay, with whom? So I think it's two groups that it's so important to keep an eye on. All right, change in the Republican Congress's net approval rating versus pre-shutdown. It's rallying the base for sure. Look at this, the net approval rating up 12 points versus pre-shutdown. But it's not just with the base. It's also with the middle of the electorate. Look at this, among independents. It's up 8 points as well. So we've got a situation here where Republicans with the shutdown are actually rallying their base, but it's also something that's not hurting them with the folks in the middle. If anything, it's helping them with folks in the middle. And this is the type of math that if you're Republicans, you like to see, right? Because something could rally the base but alienate those in the middle, or something could rally those in the middle but alienate the base. But the truth is, we're not seeing that. What we're seeing is the Republican brand has actually gotten better among independents, and it's also gotten better among Republicans as well, that Republican brand when it comes to those in Congress. So again, what's the electoral reason that Republicans would give in at this point?
And Democrats, of course, they have their eyes on the midterm elections. Yeah, we have elections 1 week from today, but what Democrats in Congress are mostly focused on are 1 year and 1 week from today from the midterm. So how how are they positioned right now?
Yeah, so I mean, look, the generic congressional ballot, which traditionally Democrats have done really well on, and if you look at this point back when Trump was president the first time around, Democrats are up 11 points. Look at where it is now. Democrats are ahead, but they're actually only up 3 points. This is, in fact, the worst position Democrats have been on in a generic ballot at this point in midterm when there was a Republican president in the last 20 years. And this is no different from pre-shutdown. So Republicans aren't losing on this metric either. They become more popular, and they're actually in a pretty good position for them historically when it comes to the generic congressional ballot.
This is a concerning number for Democrats, are you saying?
This is a concerning number for Democrats because it's considerably worse than they traditionally do in midterm elections when there's a Republican president.
Harry Etten, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you see that the Republican Party is being helped from this. We are seeing a political theater play out before our own eyes. The Democrats are holding the country hostage for electoral votes. They know if they push funding and they get what they want, and let's say the Republicans give in, we are going to see a surge of illegal immigrants trying to enter the United States of America. Because if we start funding for non-citizens, and we start funding those and make incentives for people to cross our borders, the Democratic Party obviously is always going to rise. I take some of those numbers with a full grain of salt. I don't take it all too serious. Yes, a 0.3 is still good for Democrats, but it's not looking too good. Because the American people are starting to open their eyes to realizing what the Democratic Party has been doing over this past decade. We've watched Obama preach it and blaming the Republicans back when he was president for utilizing a shutdown to hold hostage because they didn't like a bill. But now we're watching the Democrats do it because they don't like the idea that the big, beautiful bill pretty much eradicated any subsidies that were going to fund for illegals. We have destroyed programs in wasteful government spending. They want all that back. Now, I do see this as somewhat of a political theater from both sides. But we can say the Republicans are more in the right. It's because American people are going to see that they stand for truth. They stand for value. They stand for the principles of the Constitution of the United States of America. They believe standing for the American people. Yes, it's ugly. Millions of people are going to lose their food stamps. Millions of people are going to see their premiums go through the roof. We got to start questioning, why are we so dependent upon our government? Yes, SNAP helps people. But why do we really need SNAP in the first place? The true food banks was the churches. We've lost the church. And with losing the church, we have watched our entirety of our government completely collapse. We want to go see what Speaker Michael has to say about this.
So it brought you a little visual aid here to just remind everybody what the simple facts are. 4 simple facts here. The Democrats are required to open the government. They keep saying Republicans are in charge of government. We aren't, not in the Senate. 60 votes control the Senate, not a bare majority. And so point number 1, Democrat votes are required to open the government. Point number 2, they refuse to do it. They have now voted 12 times to keep the government closed. And they'll have another chance today or tomorrow, maybe multiple times this week, and we'll see what they do. Now, the third point is very important because they've been trying to confuse the American people. They've tried to say this is a fight about health care or this or that or any other thing, and it's very simple. They put this on paper. They made this their demand in writing in the record of the Senate, and it has not changed. These are just 4 subpoints there under fact number 3, but there's many more. But among the things they're demanding, this is what the Democrats in the Senate are demanding to reopen the government. They want to give $200 billion in health benefits to illegal aliens and non-citizens, paid for by U.S. taxpayers. That is in their proposal. They want billions in wasteful programs to be returned to foreign countries. So we stopped these things. They want to turn it all back on. They're demanding that we do all that to get the government open for hardworking Americans again. They want to give $500 million to left-leaning news organizations, and they want to cut $50 billion from rural hospitals. We will not do those things. And they know that very well. Which leads us to point number 4. The Democrats have now openly admitted, and you all had to cover it last week, that they're using the pain of the American people as their leverage. That was the number 2 ranked Democrat in the House, the Democrat, the minority whip, who said that, acknowledged it in an interview, that this is leverage. And Chuck Schumer himself boasted that every day of the shutdown gets better for us. That's his now infamous quote that he wishes he had not said out loud. But you know what they're doing and why. Why are they demanding these things? Why is point number 3 so essential to them? Why would they do this? Because it's unprecedented, as we've noticed, and reminded you all, they voted for CRs every time it was possible in their lives, as recently as March of this year. But they're doing it to appease their far-left Marxist base. That's the headline. That's why. That's why we're all in this mess. That's why the American people are suffering pain, because the Democrats are more afraid of the Marxist in their base than they are of hardworking Americans. See, they've made an evaluation that they have to appease the Marxist base, that they're so concerned that they'll lose their jobs if they don't appease the far left in their party. And they sat in a back room and they made the calculation that they would rather shut the government down and impose all this pain on the American people because they believe the Marxists, the far left in the base, are more active than hardworking Americans, people who go vote. And so they made the calculation that it's worth it to them. Every day gets better for us. We'll use the pain as leverage. For what? To prove to the far left base that they won't give in, that they'll fight Trump and fight the Republicans. What are they fighting? It's a clean CR. It's the same level of funding that they have voted for as recently as earlier this year. They are Biden-level policies and spending. This is not some Republican wish list. We don't have any of our priorities in this at all. It's the Democrats' own product. But they have decided to flip the script this time because they were getting too much heat from the far left.
I believe that they are holding the government hostage because they did not like the big, beautiful bill that cut wasteful spending. They're using this to prop up blame towards the Republicans. See, so many Americans, and I don't care what side of the aisle that you're on, I want everybody to listen to me. And if you made it this far through the video, hit the like button, guys. It is greatly appreciated. But do understand that it takes 60 votes in the Senate to pass any kind of bill. So with that being said, it is not the Republicans to blame. They need a little bit of the Democratic Party to get a bill passed. So that's why Democrats are being blamed. Republicans want a clean CR to fund the government for the American people, and the Democrats want to fund illegals. Why should the Republicans bend on their principles that stand under the Constitution of the United States of America, that stands for the American people? Why should they bend? I know a lot of people are going to say, well, compromise. Listen, I'm all for affordability healthcare, 100%. We shouldn't see our premiums go through the roof. Republicans want to fix healthcare. It seems like anything that Trump does, the Democrats don't like. And that is a scary, scary thing to actually take a look at. But Elon Musk said it the best, and exactly why the Democratic Party is doing of what they're doing. Take this. Take a listen to this.
The reason you have the standoff is because if the hundreds of billions of dollars to create a financial incentive to have this giant magnet to attract illegals from every part of Earth to these states, if that is turned off, the illegals will leave because they are no longer being paid to come to the United States and stay here.
Wow.
And then they will lose a lot of voters. The Democratic Party will lose a lot of voters.
And they would have a very difficult job if this is kicked out of reintroducing it into a new bill.
Yes.
Especially once things start normalizing.
Yes. So, in a nutshell, the Democratic Party wants to destroy democracy by importing voters, and the Republican Party disagrees with that.
And the ruse is that if you don't accept what they're doing, then you're a threat to democracy.
Yes.
As they try to destroy democracy.
Yes.
By importing voters.
That is
and
literally what they're doing.
People to only vote for them and overwhelming the system.
Yes. And by the way, it's a strategy that, if allowed to work, would work. And in fact, has worked. California is supermajority Democrat.
Yeah.
And there's so much gerrymandering that occurs. It's crazy.
With that being said, we cannot allow the Democratic Party to import their voters and open that floodgate with incentives. Have you find it pretty ironic that since the big beautiful bill has passed, that we cut off that faucet, that the flood has stopped? The border is now like a tumbleweed. See, the Democratic Party realized that they have been hemorrhaging votes. They realized that over the last 4 years under the Biden administration, there wasn't one policy they could stand on. The very same party that claims that the right, as well as Donald Trump, is an essential threat to the United States of America, is the exact party that is a threat to our democracy. They have socialism and communism within their party. That's the threat to the American way. That's a threat to our Constitution. Look at any country throughout the world that has communism or has socialism ideologies within their government. You will see of how horrible those places are. This is what the Democrats want. And the moderates and the centrists in that party are buckling to the far left. So yes, the Republicans have to stand on their principles. We have to stand for what's right. Is it fair to the working people within our federal government? Is it fair to Americans that do depend on food stamps and medical coverage? No. But they're the ones holding the country hostage, not the Republicans. It takes 60 votes in the Senate. So if you have 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans, you would need 10 Democrats to vote yes to a Republican-backed bill. The same thing is said if there was a Democrat-backed bill, you would need 10 Republicans. It's done that way to have a checks and balances. So not one party has a majority control. Not one party has superior control. The Democrats have realized that they don't have policies to stand on, that they don't have any principles to stand on, and they are hemorrhaging the votes. Take a look at the most recent election. You clearly see Donald Trump won the majority of the country. It's because Americans have opened their eyes and said, yeah, this is not for us. We want America first. We don't know how many people have illegally entered this country that truly entered this country for a better life. Or did they enter the country to undermine our Constitution and to overthrow the United States? Madani from New York City, that mayoral candidate, comes from a foreign family. He's a foreigner. And he has socialist ideologies. I hope he don't win, because it'll spell disaster for New York. So before you start blaming the Republicans, truly look at the policies of why this is at a standstill. Now, the Democrats are saying, well, after the election, we will definitely vote. Kind of ironic that you're going to wait until the elections to vote. The current election that's coming up, not next year. When you run for government, whether it's Senate, House of Representatives, governor, whatever position, you've got to run on principles. And the Democrats have been hemorrhaging for a while on the principles. You look at 2024 election, it is a reflection of how the American people feel. That there is this big movement towards the right. There's this big movement to being conservative, putting God first, putting the church back into the government. Did you know that it was the church's job to feed the hunger, to house the homeless, to clothe those who are not clothed? It was never the government's responsibility to feed you, to clothe you, to shelter you, or to even take care of your medical needs. We got to stop being so dependent on our government and be more self-reliant. It is very shameful to watch the Democrats hold our country hostage because they want to fund illegal immigrants, because they cannot run on principles. They cannot win an election based upon their principles and their agenda. And it's very laughable when President Obama criticized the Republicans when they pulled this under his presidency. Oh, how the roles have reversed, and he's silent on it. The hypocrisy of the left is just distasteful. I've had family since the Civil War, going all the way back to the American Revolutionary War, the American Spanish War, Vietnam, Korea, World War I, World War II, Desert Storm, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. I've had family. We have fought so hard for this country, shedded blood and tears, losing brothers and sisters in arms to defend freedom. And they just look at this country and laugh. All they care about is power, money. They don't care about your true needs. So before you point the finger, do your research. Don't rely upon left-leaning agencies with their polls, their news reporting. Don't even lean on the ones from the right. Do your own research. Determine for yourself of what the facts are. Because from what I saw, the Republicans are standing on principles. 13 times, the Democrats voted no to feed Americans. 13 times they voted no to fund the military. 13 times they voted no to open the government. So before you sit there and say, well, this is a Republican shutdown, a Trump shutdown. First of all, Trump can't even vote within Congress. He just signs it into law. Yes, he could try to negotiate both sides, and he tried that. But one side is just filled with complete idiots that don't want to do what's right for the American people. You got the other side that wants to feed Americans. They want to be able to actually get things back up and running. Then we could talk about the fundamental principles of what you want. Listen, I think we're all for, affordable health care. I don't think there's not one American in the face of this country that wants affordable health, that don't want affordable health care. But you got to have an open government to have dialogue. And we have to take away funding Congress during shutdowns. I think if the government shuts down, Congress don't get paid. Then we start fining them $10,000 per day that they don't want to reopen the government. Watch how fast things change in this country. Just food for thought. Guys, I appreciate everybody that tuned into this episode. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell notification, hit that like button, and I'm going to catch every one of you guys in the next one. Have a good night, y'all.